Welcome back to another episode of the Joey Musto Show presented by Team Musto. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a couple of different properties that recently came off the market. One of them was in Kihei, and the other one was on Maui's North Shore. It's an area I don't talk too much about, so let's go ahead and get into it. Starting off with 151 Kauha'a Street. So, this was located in the Meadowlands, which was a subdivision in North Kihei. It was a little bit of an interesting layout, 4 bed, 2 bath. It was also a little bit smaller than what you typically find in Kihei, 1,248 square feet. It was on the market 237 days. It sat on 3,981 square feet, was built in 2000, remodeled in 2024. Just some of the benefits to being in North Kihei real quick. You have quick access to Pi'ilani Highway, which is good if you need to get into Central Maui, if you need to go grocery shopping, or if you need to get to the airport. But it's also good if you want to go out to Kamaole Beach 1, 2, or 3 in South Kihei, or you want to go shopping at the shops at Wailea. Um, and it's also close to Sugar Beach. This is a great beach in North Kihei, 6 miles of uninterrupted shoreline. You can go all the way to Ma'alaya and back. So there are some real benefits to being in North Kihei. However, when you look at how this property was priced, the story to me is that it was priced too high based on the square footage. When you look at Kihei single family home market for February 2026, we saw 8 sales, down a little bit from January where we saw 10, median price 1.225 million. And then year to date, we've seen an increase, which is good news for sellers, 18 sales. Again, it is a relatively small sample size, but total dollar volume also increased, another good piece of news for sellers. And then the median price was down, which is good news for buyers. Average price relatively flat there, down slightly. When you look at 151 specifically, it was listed at 1.198, reduced to 1.11 million. And in my opinion, it was still overpriced even after the price reduction. If you look at what has sold recently at some nearby subdivisions at Hale Pi'ilani and Pi'ilani Villages, 4 homes sold between 1.05 million, 1.35 million. So if you're just looking at this based on list price, you would think, 151 is not bad because it is below that. However, what buyers got in other homes that they didn't get at 151 was larger homes, more square footage, and then more functional traditional layouts. So moving forward from there, how would we have gotten this sold? I think the first thing we'd have to do is fix the price per square foot. The comps average 643 almost. List price per square foot, and then sold price per square foot was below that at about 596. 151 after the price reduction was listed at 889, and it needed to be brought much closer to where buyers were actually playing. The aggressive pricing range here, I think this would have been kind of hard to accept for the seller, would have been around 744 grand. This is based on where buyers were actually closing, which was the closer to the 596. And this positions it as the best value in the area, immediately creates urgency and increases the chance of multiple offers. So again, like I've been talking about, the problem with 151 was that it was priced too high based on the square footage. And you need to ask yourself, put yourself in the buyer's shoes. If you were looking at properties in North Kihei and you could get one that was priced higher, was smaller, and didn't have as functional a layout, why would you go with that property, even if it was, renovated in 2024, when you could get something that was bigger, had a more functional layout, and was relatively close to the same things, the same beaches, the same stores, the same restaurants, right? So I think that's important to keep in mind when you're pricing any home. And then moderate pricing would have been around 803,000. This is based on where homes were being listed. The reason I like going with the moderate pricing strategy here is because if you look at what has sold in Kihei, the February 2026 and year to date, things aren't selling for 100% of list price. So I think it would have been a little bit risky to go with the aggressive pricing. However, if you go with the moderate pricing, this leaves room for negotiation, and I think you will see negotiation right now. In line with competition, but still requires strong presentation. Now, I think this home did have the ability to show well, especially with the renovations, and this likely results in longer days on market with negotiation. And then lastly, test the market wouldn't have went with this strategy. This is around 825 grand to 850 grand. The reason I think it's important to look at these numbers is because if you look at these test the market numbers, they're priced at 1.11. So it's way higher than, what is already too high. This is a slight premium compared to the comps despite the smaller size, relies on buyers accepting less value for similar money. Normally, that doesn't happen. Why would buyers do that? Higher risk of sitting, but still far more realistic than the 889 per square foot. Final takeaway, the issue wasn't demand. I think we are seeing demand return in Kihei. If you look at the year-to-date numbers, it was value that was the problem here. Buyers had better options at the same price point. The price per square foot was far above the market, and the property never aligned with where buyers were actually buying. Moving forward, now we're going to talk about the Paia home that recently came off the market. It had been on the market for 318 days, three bed, two bath, 1,141 square feet. So it was a little bit more of a traditional layout than the one we saw in Kihei. But again, it was small. Single family home located in North Shore Village, was built in 2003, remodeled in 2025. They really did do a full sweep here, updated bathrooms, kitchen, wood flooring, and an open layout. A little bit of a downside is only a one-car garage. We're going to talk more about the location and the differences between the location in the next slide. But it was located in North Shore Village in Paia Town, close to Baldwin Beach restaurants and Paia Town shops. So if you look at how the Paia single-family home market has performed this year and in February 2026, it gets grouped with Sprex and Kuau, where we have seen one home sale in February. Median sales price was 1.3 million, so obviously demand is low. Now, if you look at the year-to-date numbers for homes sold, again, this is a small sample size, but that is up, which is good news for sellers. If you kind of squint there, I don't think this is a situation where if you owned a home and you were thinking about selling in, one of these areas on the North Shore, you would see these sales and be like, I got to get my thing listed. I don't think it's those kind of numbers. And average sales price is down, the median sales price is down. Good news for buyers. Total dollar volume was also down. So now I kind of want to talk about the differences between each area because I think each of them has something different to offer. Sprecklesville is where the money is. Beachfront properties with large lots and privacy. You're close to Maui Country Club. You're about a 2-minute drive into Paia Town. You could also walk there or run there. It's probably about ten minutes. It's one of the most exclusive and high-end areas on Maui. If you look at Paia, this is a walkable beach town with shops and restaurants, more accessible entry point compared to Sprecklesville. So if you are looking to buy on Maui's North Shore, Paia is one of the most affordable and kind of the entry level place to be. A good subdivision for single family homes is Skill Village. So this sits above Paia town, probably about a 10-minute walk. It's near the park. It has nice wide streets, nice single family homes there. Then if you look at Kuau, this is a little bit closer to Haiku, closer to Ho'okipa, quieter residential feel. Probably would be a little bit more expensive than things you would find in Paia. So if I had to rate these three based on price, Sprex is going to be the most expensive. Kuau follows. Paia is best for entry level first time buyers. Um, but yeah, so it's just important to keep that in mind when you look at what has sold in the past 90 days, because the numbers are inflated if you sell something in Sprex, right? Because it's literally beachfront properties. So 33 Hoku was originally listed at just under 1.7, reduced to 1.475. So it was quite a reduction, 215 grand, and it was priced at $1,292 per square foot. Six homes sold in the past 90 days in Sprex, Paia, and Kuau, with the average list price 3.335, average sold price 2.797. Average discount buyers are negotiating out here. It's pretty significant, 16%. Median sold price per square foot, 1,154. Average sold price per square foot, 1,636. So again, this is what I mean because if you look at where 33 was priced based on square footage, you would think, well, that's at the lower end of the range, right? But you have to take into account that some of these properties that sold were not just in Paia, Kuau, and Sprex, were also factors in this. How would we have gotten this sold? I think it's important to look at what has actually sold, like really close to 33. Aggressive price range would have been between 1.28 million, 1.32 million, based on majority of comps trading between 1,070 and $1,150 per square foot. This is positioned directly in line with 19 Hokley Place and 17 Lion Nui Place. The moderate pricing would have been between 1.33 million and 1.40. Slight premium to comps like 109 Baldwin, which was 1,233. And normally I wouldn't give a premium just because the property was renovated. However, they did do a full sweep with this thing and it was recent. This accounts for updates and condition without overreaching. Also, another benefit to doing the renovations and stuff is that the home tends to show better. So I think you could have justified the moderate price range here. Probably would have been where we ended up pricing this thing. And if you look at test market, in a normal Maui real estate market, or even in a uh, even in a market that was leaning away from a buyer's market, more towards a normal market, you could have priced this thing between 1.4 and 1.5. Would have been a little bit high in my opinion, but this price is above most recent comparable sales on a price per square foot basis. So I think a good strategy here, taking into consideration the renovations, would have been the moderate pricing, maybe towards the lower end there, just because demand has been so slow on Maui's North Shore. So here's just our team information. Thank you guys for watching the video. I'm on all the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Substack for written content. I'm even on LinkedIn. Um, and then I make these long form YouTube videos, YouTube shorts as well. So like, comment, subscribe, share the kind of videos that you guys would like to see. Like what would bring value to you? Are there any areas that you are looking that people aren't talking about? And yeah, it is still raining on Maui. So continuing the streak here. But thank you again, everybody, for watching, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their day.